Jeanne Bécu, who would later rise to fame as Madame du Barry, was born in 1743 in Vaucouleurs, a small town in northeastern France. Her mother, Anne Bécu, was a single woman of modest means, and Jeanne's early life was far from privileged. Despite her humble beginnings, Jeanne's beauty and charm quickly set her apart from others. From a young age, she lived in Paris, a city that would become central to her destiny. Raised by her mother and supported by a local benefactor, Jeanne's childhood in Paris was marked by her ability to captivate those around her. While she did not come from nobility, her natural charisma and striking looks began to attract the attention of many influential people within the city. As a young woman, Jeanne worked various jobs to support herself, including as a milliner's assistant, where her interaction with high society women exposed her to the world of fashion and luxury. Her beauty became her passport into social circles that would have otherwise been out of reach for someone of her background. It wasn't long before she caught the eye of Jean-Baptiste du Barry, a well-known libertine who saw in Jeanne the potential to ascend to the highest levels of French society. Du Barry, recognizing her potential, orchestrated her introduction to the French court, ultimately leading to her becoming the mistress of King Louis XV. This marked the beginning of her transformation from a commoner into the glamorous and powerful Madame du Barry. Despite her controversial status as the king's mistress, Jeanne Bécu would come to wield significant influence at the court of Versailles, a remarkable rise for someone born into such modest circumstances. Though Jeanne's early life was filled with hardship and limited opportunity, her beauty, intelligence, and undeniable charm allowed her to break through the rigid class barriers of 18th century France. Her story serves as a testament to how even in the highly stratified society of pre-revolutionary France, an individual with the right attributes could rise to the very top, no matter their origins. Jeanne Bécu's rise to notoriety was a story of ambition, beauty, and determination in the face of a rigid class structure. After spending her early years in Paris, working to support herself and her mother, she took on various jobs, including working as a hairdresser's apprentice and as a shop assistant. These humble roles gave her a glimpse into the world of luxury and fashion, a world that was just beyond her reach. Jeanne's beauty, however, did not go unnoticed, and it would become the key to her ascent in French society. Her transformation truly began when she became a courtesan, a role that allowed her to interact with wealthy and influential men. Unlike most women of her background, Jeanne possessed not only physical beauty but also a keen wit and charm, qualities that helped her stand out in the competitive world of courtesans. Through her connections, Jeanne was introduced to Jean-Baptiste du Barry, a nobleman with a reputation for his many connections in the upper echelons of society. He was well aware of the potential Jeanne had to become a sensation in the circles of power, and he sought to cultivate her talents. Jean-Baptiste became both Jeanne's patron and mentor, carefully guiding her through the complexities of French high society. He orchestrated her entrance into the aristocratic world, introducing her to powerful and influential figures. Jeanne quickly mastered the art of navigating these circles, using her wit, intelligence, and allure to charm the aristocracy. With Jean-Baptiste's support, she began attending lavish parties, mingling with nobles, and catching the eye of the French elite. It wasn't long before Jeanne's beauty and grace captured the attention of the most powerful man in France, King Louis XV. Jean-Baptiste, recognizing the opportunity, arranged for Jeanne to be formally introduced to the king. King Louis XV, who was captivated by her, soon made Jeanne his official mistress. To secure her place at court, Jean-Baptiste had Jeanne married to his brother, a strategic move that gave her the title of Countess du Barry, elevating her social status and cementing her place in the aristocracy. Jeanne's rapid rise to prominence was met with both admiration and scandal. As the king's mistress, she wielded significant influence at the court of Versailles, but her background as a courtesan made her a target of gossip and resentment among the nobility. Nevertheless, her rise to notoriety was a testament to her determination, intelligence, and ability to navigate the treacherous waters of high society. Through Jean-Baptiste du Barry's guidance and her own talents, Jeanne transformed from a working-class woman into one of the most powerful and talked-about figures in France. Jeanne Bécu's life took a dramatic turn when she caught the attention of King Louis XV. Her beauty and charm had already captivated many influential figures, but the king's interest in her would elevate her status to unprecedented heights. Louis XV, known for his many mistresses, quickly became infatuated with Jeanne. Her wit, grace, and physical allure made her a standout in the court, and she soon became his favorite companion. However, for Jeanne to officially assume the role of the king's maîtresse en titre, official mistress, there was a significant obstacle to overcome: her lack of noble status. The rigid hierarchy of the French court demanded that any woman in such a position must be of noble birth. To remedy this, Jean-Baptiste du Barry, who had orchestrated much of Jeanne's rise, arranged for her to marry his brother, Guillaume du Barry, a man of noble lineage. This strategic marriage, which took place in 1768, granted Jeanne the title of Countess du Barry, allowing her to officially enter the aristocratic ranks. With her new title, Jeanne was introduced at the royal court of Versailles in 1769. This was a monumental moment, marking her formal acceptance into the elite world of French nobility. As Madame du Barry, she quickly became a prominent figure at court, admired for her beauty, fashion, and elegance. Her presence at Versailles signified not only her personal triumph, but also the king's open defiance of those who disapproved of his relationship with a former courtesan. Jeanne's role as the king's mistress came with both power and scrutiny. At court, she was able to influence royal decisions and enjoy the lavish lifestyle that came with her proximity to the king. However, her position also made her a target of jealousy and intrigue, especially from those who viewed her humble origins as unbecoming of her newfound status. Despite the controversies, Madame du Barry remained the king's favorite until his death, securing her place in history as one of the most famous royal mistresses of France. Madame du Barry's life at Versailles was one of opulence and privilege, but it was also fraught with tension and controversy. After officially becoming King Louis XV's mistress in 1769, she embraced the luxurious lifestyle that came with her position. She resided in lavish apartments at the Château de Versailles, surrounded by the finest art, jewelry, and clothing. Her fashion sense became a symbol of extravagance, and her influence extended beyond the royal bedchamber. As a patron of the arts, Madame du Barry used her wealth and status to support artists and craftsmen. She commissioned works from renowned painters and sculptors, and her patronage contributed to the flourishing of French artistic culture during the latter half of the 18th century. In addition to her involvement in the arts, Madame du Barry wielded political influence at court. Through her close relationship with the king, she was able to sway decisions and secure favors for those in her circle, often engaging in the power struggles that defined life at Versailles. Despite her elevated position and royal favor, Madame du Barry was not well liked by many at court. Her background as a commoner and former courtesan made her an easy target for criticism, and she faced hostility from members of the nobility who viewed her presence as a threat to their own status. The courtiers were known for their sharp tongues, and Madame du Barry often found herself the subject of gossip and ridicule. Her lavish lifestyle and perceived arrogance only fueled the animosity against her, making her a polarizing figure in the eyes of many. Among her most prominent detractors was Marie Antoinette, the young Dauphine of France. From the moment they met, the future queen made it clear that she disapproved of Madame du Barry's presence at court. Marie Antoinette, raised with strict Austrian standards of morality, found it difficult to accept that the king's mistress could wield such influence. Their relationship was cold, marked by public snubs and private tensions. This rivalry became a focal point in the complex web of alliances and enmities at Versailles. While Madame du Barry enjoyed immense wealth and power during her time as Louis XV's mistress, she was never able to win the affection of the people or the acceptance of her peers. Her life at Versailles was one of luxury, but it was also marked by isolation and hostility, making her time at court both glamorous and challenging. After the death of King Louis XV in 1774, Madame du Barry's life took a dramatic turn. With the king's passing, she lost her powerful protector and her position at Versailles. The new regime, under King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette, had little use for her. Her close ties to the old king made her a controversial figure, and she was soon exiled from court. Madame du Barry was sent to the Pont-aux-Dames convent, where she lived in relative obscurity for several years. Although this marked the end of her influential life at Versailles, she remained wealthy and continued to maintain connections with various members of the aristocracy. As the French Revolution began to unfold in the late 1780s, the political climate grew increasingly hostile toward the aristocracy and anyone associated with the former monarchy. Madame du Barry, with her close ties to the old regime, became a target. Her lavish lifestyle and connections to foreign dignitaries led to suspicions that she was involved in espionage. The revolutionaries, now in power, viewed her with increasing distrust. In 1791, thieves broke into her chateau and stole many of her valuable jewels. She appealed to the revolutionary government for help, traveling to London in an attempt to recover her stolen possessions. This act further fueled rumors that she was collaborating with foreign powers. By 1793, the Reign of Terror was in full swing, and Madame du Barry's aristocratic connections were seen as dangerous. She was arrested and charged with treason, accused of aiding emigrants and conspiring with enemies of the revolution. Despite her protests of innocence, she was found guilty. On December 8, 1793, Madame du Barry was executed by guillotine in Paris. Her dramatic downfall, from the height of luxury and influence at Versailles to a tragic end on the scaffold, remains a powerful symbol of the volatile nature of French society during the Revolution. In 1793, during the height of the Reign of Terror, Madame du Barry's fate was sealed. Although she had once lived a life of luxury as the mistress of Louis XV, her ties to the aristocracy made her a target in revolutionary France. After being accused of treason, largely due to her connections with emigrant aristocrats and her perceived involvement with foreign powers, she was arrested and imprisoned. Madame du Barry's wealth and attempts to maintain her lifestyle during the Revolution only deepened the suspicion against her. In a desperate effort to save herself, Madame du Barry revealed the location of her hidden jewels, hoping that this act of cooperation might spare her life. She had already suffered a significant blow in 1791 when thieves had stolen a considerable portion of her fortune. Nevertheless, she still retained some assets, which she offered up in a bid for leniency. However, this gesture proved futile. The revolutionary government was determined to punish those connected to the old regime, and her act of surrendering her treasures did little to change their minds. As her trial progressed, it became clear that her fate was inevitable. She was found guilty of conspiring with enemies of the revolution and condemned to death by guillotine. On December 8, 1793, Madame du Barry faced her execution in Paris. Her final moments were marked by terror and desperation. Unlike some of the more composed and dignified executions that had become commonplace during the Revolution, Madame du Barry did not face her death with quiet resignation. She reportedly begged for mercy, pleading for more time, and expressing overwhelming fear. Her cries for leniency echoed in stark contrast to the cold, unforgiving nature of the revolutionary justice system. Despite her pleas, the revolutionaries were unmoved. Madame du Barry was executed, becoming one of the many victims of the Reign of Terror. Her death marked the tragic end of a woman who had once wielded significant influence at the court of Versailles. Her life, filled with glamour and scandal, came to a brutal conclusion on the guillotine, serving as a reminder of the violent upheavals that characterized the French Revolution.